Cyclone Alfred remains a Queensland threat. Good evening. We've been tracking this storm for quite a while. It is stalling at this point over the Coral Sea, a Category 1 on the Saffir-Simpson scale, Category 2 on the Australian scale at 14.8 south, 154.7 degrees east. Storm slowly moving southwards. We've clocked the movement speed there at about 11 miles per hour or 17 kilometers per hour as of 11 p.m. this evening in Brisbane, February 25th. That would be midnight in New South Wales. 75 mile per hour winds, 120 kilometers per hour sustained, and an estimated pressure of 975 millibars is what we have the storm at right now. Well, here is the current position displayed on the map and showing off its wind field as well. Highest wind fields on the eastern sides there, up to 115 nautical miles. That is around over 200 kilometers. Well, this is distance from land, 370 kilometers from Donuo, one of the exterior islands of Papua New Guinea, 535 from Willis Island, very small monitoring station in the Coral Sea, 845 from the Whitsundays, 896 from Bowen, and 916 from Mackay. Well, the storm will be gradually moving southwards, and it is still very uncertain as to how far west the storm will eventually go, although more models are trending towards a landfall in Queensland. So, as mentioned, an uncertain track and intensity forecast at present, so we're giving the biggest threat to flooding right now. Whether the storm makes landfall or not, there could be some significant flooding impacts, especially in coastal Queensland, but potentially all of the southeastern part of the state over the course of several days if the storm's moving slowly. The highest risk currently lies from Mackay southwards to Fraser Island. Well, here is the storm's trajectory over the next few days, our best guess, because this is what generally these forecasts are. There is still a significant spread in the modelling, including some scenarios that take it out to sea at this point, although the general weight of model consensus is taking it towards land and moving inland early next week or at the end of the weekend, and the general consensus there is for a landfall actually quite close to Mackay and then dissipating fairly quickly inland. Current estimates right now are some of them pretty settled. JTWC quite a bit higher there, going with 85 miles per hour. NOAA ADT on the low side at 65. In between all of that is our estimate, the Bureau of Meteorology, and the SSEC ADT satellite estimate as well at 75 miles per hour there or thereabouts, 120 kilometers per hour sustained. And as you can see, there are very busy tropics out there as well. Here's the bomb forecast for Alfred. They're calling for a Category 3 peak on the Australian scale shortly, and will continue to persist at that strength for a good 48 hours probably before gradual weakening as it heads on towards the southeast. And this is the forecast here from the JTWC as well. They're calling for much more weakening towards the end of that model, that forecast period, towards day 5 into March, and only down to tropical storm status as it approaches the coast. Here's the GFS forecast model then. This is what it's calling for, holding those yellows, that's hurricane force winds, and then gradually weakening, but still, nope, maybe a second peak there as well, and a landfall a little bit further south, moving inland and then losing its shape very quickly. But as you can see there, it's pushing towards the coast quite slowly in those later periods. Sea surface temperatures are good enough, and so it could hold a lot of that strength, or even do a little late burst of strengthening as is depicted there on that model before it makes that landfall. Looking at the simulated radar will give you an idea of the storm's structure. The west and the southern side will be doing the best there, and that will contain most of the heavy rain and the strongest winds as the storm edges closer to land. It wobbles about quite a bit there as well, and that really throws up the uncertainty because this is just one model consensus. So many different scenarios that they plug through with the ensembles, and they're calling for wildly different scenarios. Indeed, quite a few of them, maybe 3 or 4, about 20% of the ensembles calling for the scenario of the storm going out to sea or just grazing land. Now looking at the rainfall expectations then over the next 7-day period, there are some flood warnings in parts of Queensland right now, I have noted, including 1 or 2 major flood warnings, but looking towards the period here, there could be some exacerbated flooding issues looking at the rainfall expectations. So some of those red zones getting up towards 250 millimeters of rainfall or higher, 12 inches there, that's 300 millimeters, and looking down towards even the Brisbane area eventually could be getting up towards 3 inches of rainfall, which is around about just getting up towards 100 millimeters. Similar inland as well towards the west there. Looking at sea surface temperatures, they're in Fahrenheit, so bear with us here, but we're generally looking at around 79 degrees Celsius or 79 degrees Fahrenheit or warmer, that's 26 degrees Celsius, to sustain a tropical cyclone. Well, those temperatures do hold up pretty much until landfall. Not much further than that, mind, but those temperatures are looking okay. These numbers do read a little bit low as well, so I would say there is quite a bit of energy still available for Alfred all the way up until its landfall, unless it decides to do a stalling act offshore in which upwelling might get to it. Well, let's take a look at the latest satellite imagery in detail. It's really thrown up a massive convective burst in the last few hours in particular. This is probably about a 2-hour loop actually, so it's quite a recent development here, throwing up enormous cloud tops, a sign of strength. A sign that the storm is trying to strengthen further, although it is fighting, by the looks of things, a little bit of wind shear on that eastern side. We see a very sharp cloud gradient there. Looking at some more close-up imagery here from the Force 13 website. You can check this out at any time on our website, force13.com/satellite. And looking at the water vapor imagery, really showing tons of moisture towards the central core of the storm. It will be dropping tons of rain right now, and near the center track when it's out at sea in the next 24 to 48 hours we might well be looking at over 500 millimeters of rainfall. Look at them cloud tops though, really extending into the minus 90s Celsius, which is quite impressive. Its structure not the best right now. I think it's still struggling to get its eye structure together, its eye wall really struggling on the southeastern side right now. Northwestern though is absolutely there, backed up here by the conventional satellite imagery, which is looking very impressive indeed. Here's a wide shot looking at the whole of Australia, and you can see Bianca not getting much love from our attention off towards the left hand side there as well of Western Australia. Briefly reached category 3 status earlier on. And this is radar imagery showing some of the very edges of Alfred off to the right hand side there, starting to get into the radar scope. Looking around the world, we have Ray, which is about to die off. It's well past Fiji now, and as we swing around the world all the way over to the eastern hemisphere, we have Garance, which has just been named in the southwest Indian Ocean, heading for Mauritius. Could be a big storm there, I'm afraid. Bianca, Alfred, and Seru, which formed yesterday east of Vanuatu.